what? It would be like an epic. It would have been so funny. Why didn't I do that? Man, it would have been such a good bit. Wait, I gonna still do it. It's like just a tiny bit, you know. We're still here for the comedy, so it's like wow. Why? I don't know. I think it's always funny. Anyways, here we are. Ah, so funny. The best bit ever. Uh, so I had to set up this thing today. What are we here for today? Good question. That's that's like an incredibly wrong title. Uh, let me do it like this. Wait, there we are. So also, I have a question. Why is there no sound? Why do I not hear myself? What's going on? Is it working? That's all that I actually want to know. Uh, uh, this is this thing working though? Yeah. Okay. Thank you. It works. I don't need to hear anymore. So I don't think we really have that much more to wait for before actually being here. I guess something else. No, yeah, I think we're fine. Probably we are fine. So that's good. No, wait, yeah, I have something. I have. I should also get some water, probably taking into consideration that I have a none left. I don't know. I have to think about that one for a little bit before actually taking any choice. But it's fine. The point is we're fine. So that's more than enough for me. It's interesting policies, anyways. What about them? No idea. What do you have to say about them? Yeah. I think they are funny. You know. Why do you think they are funny? I don't know. Because they affect us in a way in which we don't expect that sometimes. And is that good? I don't know. Is it good? I don't know if it is good. I wouldn't say that it is good. What would you say? I don't know, man. I think it's fine. I think they are useful sometimes. But what about this last one? What do you think about that one? I don't know, man. I think this last one was nice. No, no, it wasn't. It was very bad, actually, wasn't it? What do you think? Yeah. I'm pretty sure it was bad. Anyway, sorry. Yeah, I actually hadn't even paid attention to what happened. I know out of nowhere somebody was like, "Oh yeah, you know what? I have this problem. I cannot believe it," and I felt compelled to once again make. Yeah, I wasn't even going to make another tweet. I had already made one before. I don't even know if there was any change. I don't. It was just I guess following the trend to some degree, something along those lines, basically. Now that I have no more water, I realize that I need to have water anyways. I can I can last for a little bit without anything to drink, I assume. So can we actually start? One, two, three. Yeah, it's already counting properly. There it is. There we are. Hello. Good evening. Why am I so tiny? Why did I make myself so tiny? What's going on here? Why do I look so tiny? Did I change something without realizing? Let me see. Why do I look so tiny? Yeah. This thing seems to not be zoomed in as much as it can. Okay, there it is. Wait, is this centered now? Yeah, yeah, it is. Wait, we can push the boundaries a little bit. This isn't centered, right? Yeah, this isn't centered. But, wait for it. Around here. I think that works. No, it doesn't work in both sides. It gets cut off. It's over. Give me a second. Okay, there it is fixed. Now it's properly grasped everything. Is it? No, it isn't. Not if I speak, just by existing, I think it somehow decides to troll me and sort of, yeah. There is a little bit of a cut off the top side. Let me still adjust. Okay, there we are. Now, good evening. Welcome. What are we here for today? Good question. I don't know. Uh, no, yeah, I actually know. I think it's. I think I like that. Yeah, it's nice to actually have those times in which, so as I say, I think every single instance in which we find ourselves like this, it's not so necessary to actually, I don't know, have any central theme. I think it's kind of annoying to always have one. Not because it's impossible to have one, but rather because it's, you know, I, I, I don't actually know how much of that is my own idea. It's that side of the mind of free association and whatnot. Of yeah, you know what? Sometimes you have things that you want to say, but if you don't let yourself sort of rest before you actually try to say anything, you're not going to find what is it that you want to say. So that's when it becomes annoying. I guess I don't know. I don't think it's all that bad. So yeah, that's my point. Thank you. Anyways, what I don't know. I have like many things to say. Anyways, I have been thinking about it. I want to not yeah. It's a rather a conflicting thing. I wouldn't actually say I want to. I think it's sort of bad. I have been quite capable of staying away from anything that is related to caffeine, coffee, and such. So it's nice to see that when I end up per chance or by by pure luck, let's say, consuming a cup of coffee, it does happen that it has an incredibly intense effect. I wouldn't equate that to any other stronger drug of the same stimulant type, but it does feel nice to not have as much tolerance, I guess. Not be so accustomed to consuming something that I think otherwise I find so normally consumed and utilized out there. Not, yeah, I don't try to say it from the sense or from the side of, wow, you know what? We have this high ground of, I don't know. What I was trying to say is, I do want to actually perform at least one stream while being like that. I think it's funny. I Mostly, I say that because I remember there was an incredibly huge issue with that. I had so much energy out of nowhere from that thing that I ended up spending like 4 hours locked in. You know, when you there is this other type of stuff that you can take that are like ADHD drugs, you know, those that are also sort of stimulants. I felt very much the same as that. It was pretty interesting, and I think it would be a good experiment. But I don't know. I think it's still not exactly dangerous. It's just not so nice to create a habit of out of something that isn't actually that beneficial. I don't know, man. I'm trying to say probably I will have to figure out a way in which it can happen properly without any other issue around it. But yeah, if we get to that, if we have the capacity to do that, I might as well try. I guess I don't know. I have to think about it. I just wanted to say it because yeah, I think it is still something funny. It's like, oh yeah, you are supposedly an adult, yet still somehow I haven't been so close to something like that. And I don't know, yeah. I can say personally I find myself inclined to stuff like what is it? Everything that has to do with placebo and whatnot. So I can actually say in this one case, it was luckily enough not something associated with that, so I didn't have to actually suffer because of it in terms of oh wow, I have done the biggest mistake possible of consuming something that is actually fucking affecting me because I thought it was going to affect me and nothing else. It was just a completely random event. I was like, wow, it has been so long. Can I try this? How do things work around here? Can I let me have a tiny sip? And yeah, it did function. I wasn't actually expecting anything. More so, I don't know. I think it's in that sense not complicated. It's just crazy to think that yeah, I have so many other places in which I can find this mosquito. Fuck, there is no more mosquito. So I am kinda actually losing it because of them. I man, I, you don't understand. I think no, I don't know. Somehow it's such a normal problem, but at the same time we haven't been capable of actually solving it around the world. Yeah, mosquitoes exist around the place, and we haven't killed all of them yet. They aren't necessary so much for the environment. I think I don't know, man. Can we actually eradicate them? What is it that comes if you don't have mosquitoes? Healthy people, probably. No, sorry. Anyways, the point that I was trying to make was something along the lines of uh, so many other stimulants and such that you wouldn't actually expect the most basic one to still have an effect like that. I think more so also personally because there are so many things that are associated with you know what you should or not that you should those what's the word or what's the proper category, those warning signs that exist in most beverages since I don't know a while ago probably that say oh yeah these things consume high levels of sugar of something, high levels of substances of sorts, and one of them that you can identify in drinks is yeah this contains in what is it, in sodas, I think it's the proper category. uh, this beverage contains caffeine not apt for children consumption, and I don't know, man. I don't go crazy with that, but one cup of coffee was indeed effective. I don't know, man. At this point, it's still more of an amazement more than anything else, I guess. But it's fine, anyways. The point is, we have to see how to make it work, how to make it function and not have to deal with the whole guilt of that. I guess I don't know. I guess yeah. I haven't actually thought about that one side. I do like particularly that. No, wait. It does make sense to some degree. If my last exposure was, let's say, last week, I shouldn't be trying it this week or next week or so. It should be something far off in the future once most things are in place so that all the conditions are given properly and that there is no actual thing. I just remember, I should have, anyways, responsibilities that you can forget about. It's fine. Now it's too late, probably, so it doesn't matter anymore. It has been sort of, what is it, secluded or recluded to that area of ideas, of events that have already, of trains that have already passed or that have already left the station, so to speak. So it's fine. Anyways, it's so over. I hate it. No, anyways, I don't know. Besides that, what else? I don't know. I said before, there are so many other things. I have still been trying to think about how to exactly approach the idea of, yeah, we should be trying to in in, in itself properly get something going in terms of, wow, what a nice thing it would be to actually get on to continue exploring all the other topics. But I don't know. I remember when I did that last time, based on that whole idea of the list that I have and what's not. It's sort of complicated. Sometimes you, as a person, change so much that you end up forgetting what you're actually talking about or what you were trying to talk about before. And that's what's, I wouldn't say irritating, it's just intriguing to see that what I had this one word is supposed to relate to an idea. I don't think so. I don't think so. But it's just a matter of also being capable of maintaining all the knowledge that one has acquired throughout time. I will say probably, yeah, at this point in time, it isn't such a crazy idea to state that. Certainly, if you have, even if it is a very specific, not an acronym. An acronym does make sense. That isn't so easy to remember. Something along the lines of uh, syn- synthesizing diagram. No, what's bullet points? That's a more proper word. Only even if you only have bullet points, you should be capable of understanding what you are referring to because it is something that you actually supposedly understand. Then, unavoidably, if you cannot get what you are trying to refer, once you see that, at that point, it is correct that you somehow were indeed not actually all that capable of understanding what you were trying to utilize in your ideas, I guess, in this case. So, makes sense. So that things like that are forgotten, but it is still irritating. It's not something so enjoyable to see that time passes and we forget all the stuff. It is still a hard thing to keep on trying to deal with, I guess. And personally, I haven't also progressing in regards to all of that. It has been quite an interesting adventure to try and think out how it works and how it functions and how stuff along the lines of forgetting and whatnot operates in most people and under which conditions particularly. But I don't know, it is still not such a in itself enigmatic thing so much nowadays. It's just in like the phenomena itself, the reality of wow, things do work around like that is hard to properly be capable of accepting. It's like, wow, am I actually forgetting stuff? Because sometimes I don't feel like it's something that I need to remember, that I should have in my own mind. Like, I don't know, that the whole idea, for example, I can very easily forget about the stuff that I might consider negative, therefore I end up unavoidably leaving any consideration along those lines for the sake of sort of allowing myself to not feel as bad once I have to think about anything of any kind in which I might need to utilize ideas of all sorts. So, by decreasing the amount of friction within my own concepts, I end up having a much faster time being, yeah, at exploring any concept, or even more, if it has to deal with something about reality and such. But it doesn't actually justify that. I forget about that. I understand that it happens because of it, and I feel less bad. I guess it's just like anyone. You realize that sometimes somehow what you forget is not actually so much of an impossible to remember idea, but rather a personal bias that you have against a certain concept that you quote unquote forget. But it is just because it's so hard for you to actually accept that it can be a solvable issue. And part of the idea is supposedly to keep on working on that to be capable of, at the very least, realizing that those issues exist and devising a plan to make those issues be less present in life. There is a mosquito. Give me. Why is this? I hate this mosquito. Anyways, next time I'm not even going to announce it, or I'm going to fucking hit the eye as hard as I can. Hate it. Anyways, the point was that yeah, I think it's along those lines. Sadly, it doesn't make the reality of wow, yeah. I understand the phenomena in my own case. Why I forget all this stuff when it comes from that side, uh, more bearable, so to speak, less annoying. It just makes the issue itself even harder to actually understand in terms of what, why, why is it such a problem? Why do I have so many problems with remembering stuff? Wow. I don't know. Maybe I guess at that point, yeah, it has to do a little bit with the ego and whatnot of I am supposedly a normal person, shouldn't have so many issues. Remembering, learning, and adapting new ideas to my previous worldview and conceptions of reality. Why do I have to suffer? Why am I not sane or not so capable of understanding stuff like that? I don't know. I just think that, yeah, in itself, the point is, crazily enough, it happens. Sometimes things are forgotten just because they don't feel right, and suddenly that's irritating. That's more than irritating. I guess, I don't know. Besides that, that's my whole tiny dissertation on that topic. Thank you very much. I haven't also now that we are here. let me say this. I haven't tried to understand this. I don't know how much all of this, because let me try to elaborate the thought properly. There was something that I remember having heard about Nietzsche in one of the many classes that I had to, I don't remember at this point from whom, take somewhere. There was this idea of how Nietzsche influenced the rest of the world by his method of tiny tissues about things, and his mode of utilizing anything that is not just the aphorisms in themselves, but also the type of writing that he utilized to explore and discuss many more ideas of sorts. And all of that was an interesting view, but I understand it in text. Something that I ended up realizing here is I think there is quite a huge influence in the way in which stuff like this in plural, streams happen. I think there is a little bit of an influence from that aspect of the, I guess, Nietzschean tradition, so to speak, that out of nowhere it is far more understandable and acceptable, and I will say desirable to have stuff like this one, in which we don't actually spend so much time in itself doing particularly anything, and even in more quote unquote serious streams where we find ourselves discussing particular things, particular ideas, and not losing the focus on those ideas, or not allowing ourselves to move from those ideas. Even in those cases, they are still incredibly short. I think, I don't know, I do feel like to some degree it is true that, yeah, there is something akin to uh, a sort of invisible, invisible hand uh, guiding how stuff like that works, because, yeah, we don't have an obligation to actually spend so little talking about anything. We can utilize all the time that we want in doing any kind of here dissertation, observation, analysis about any kind of topic, but still the most normal thing feels to be, or end up becoming, the act of just spending a handful of minutes in something very tiny, very short, and not much more. And there is where I think lies something along the lines of, wow, actually this is not so much of an issue in itself. This is more of a habit that has been picked up from, I guess, the other aspects of what has been normalized, in this case of the inside the philosophical tradition, so to speak. I guess, yeah. I always say that when I have to take into consideration stuff like, and the world orders me and I order the world around. Also, I got the mosquito. They are so bad. Sorry. That is, sometimes I actually think about this stuff, not because I actually need it, but rather because I feel like it would help me much more. And in this case, oh yeah, you know what? It isn't my responsibility that we're losing so much time here, or so little time talking about anything. It is the issue of the world, and the problem of the tradition that I carry, and how they order. Can't believe it. Why did they force me to be like? No, man, it's actually me. But still, trying to finish the idea itself, I do believe that to some degree there is a bit of an influence there, I guess. At least it has to deal with the capacity to recognize that it might come from that place. And from there on, yeah, it lays after that in our hands to actually try and solve it, instead of just being the eternal accuser, or accuser of stuff, without ever acting in regards to that. So yeah, it's interesting to see. It doesn't always need to be like that. Yet I feel also unavoidably that it is part of the most normalized aspect of being here. The modernity has a lot of influences from those figures, and even if in many other areas there are other aspects that have been lost to time and that were slowly, yeah, made less significant, that one still remains. And sadly, it's the norm for most people in this whole aspect, in this whole area, to find themselves actually having a hard time with all of that. Not because it is in itself bad, but because it is the norm, and also it isn't even a direct. I guess in that case, I would utilize the word institutionalization of something. It just happens that, yeah, the norm is for us to be here. Why? Don't ask me why. Just accept that it is like that, that we're going to be spending 5 minutes saying something, then moving on to the next thing. And what if, you know what? What if, even to some degree, the idea of aphorisms and such is partially responsible for or lack of a longer attention span? Something along the lines of, sadly, the people forgets that they needed to utilize other forms of thinking, logic, and such, and they lose the capacity to understand that, yeah, you can actually get a lot of complex ideas, of intertwined ideas. You are just going to be having incredibly basic sentences work in your favor. That's fucking boring. That's fucking simplistic and reductionist. You're making not actually a better work, you are not giving yourself an easier time for saying, yeah, you know what, I cannot I cannot deal with more longer ideas, and I cannot deal with anything that has a little bit more of complexity behind that. You're just limiting yourself, but once again, you look at aphorisms, you find out that the initial foundation of that is, yeah, you know what, we will have these things, these ideas that are going to be very, very short to the point, and that will be incredibly descriptive and helpful, and we shall have as many aphorisms as we can. There is another mosquito, I fucking hate this. Sorry. Why is this place full of mosquitoes or other? Anyways, as I was trying to say, that yeah, basically, aphorisms might not be as useful, and in that case, yeah, I find it not only that they do affect how we act here, but also in general, they might have a little bit more of an influence of an unexplored and unanalyzed influence in how we used to think about this stuff nowadays also. So yeah, it's fine. It's actually fine, but at the same time, it's not all that it's not all that not all that beneficial. And I think, yeah, personally, I guess I can declare that at least in this context, I have since I realized that, I don't know how long ago, I think some 1 or 2 weeks ago, I finally realized that I have been trying to personally pay attention more to what I am saying, and realize that, yeah, in some cases it also happens that, oh yeah, you know what, the main central idea has been said. Therefore, we don't have any more necessity to keep on exploring all the other nuanced sides of the concept that we are talking about. No, we actually possess the opportunity to explore many things in depth. Therefore, it should be a gift that we possess in our hands and that we utilize, we have constrained, harnessed, and we are utilizing consciously at in our own advantage towards the resolution of as many ideas as we can. And we are doing all of that willingly. And part of that same thing is related to actually getting to see many of the other areas that are perhaps otherwise not mentioned at all, and we are not obliged to just remain in a space of simplicity, because not everything needs to be simple in life. Even if, let's say it like this, one thing is to live a simple life, another thing is to confuse that initial statement with, oh yeah, you can't have any kind of complexity in your own ideas. That's not at all something that correlates with the previous statement. I think it's amongst those different types of fallacies of, I don't actually understand what I am talking about. So I will make it look like, because semantically they are the same things, or they are relating to very similar ideas, they are actually in essence the same things. No, no. In that case, it's wrong. And in that case, I do think that it would be quite more fantastic to actually utilize our time in exploring stuff that way. And yeah, thus far, then it makes me feel like it's nice, and it's not just nice and entertaining. It's far more fruitful. That whole idea of, because I can actually say as much as I can about something. I also do that eternal process of the teacher who also learns along the students. It does help quite a lot more. Do not remain in the surface, or ever, never exploring anything in depth. It's far more beneficial to actually do the opposite in this case, I guess. But yeah, that's that's what I have been observing, and what I have been trying to work on lately, and what I hope will get to be a more functional thing, so to speak. But still, there are many, besides that one mechanism, there are many other things that are also along those lines, things that need to be worked on. So it's just another front that has opened up. Besides, or after having solved this one, life will keep on getting even funkier, so to speak, and that's going to be, or not that it is hard, it's just funny to see that indeed we have so much to actually do, and it's anyways, it's nice. A thousand times better to have stuff to do than to just find ourselves troubled because we want to do, or because we have the capacity to do something, but we don't actually understand what we could even do. So, anyways, uh, now I guess I guess we're going to have our first uh, break of the night. Uh, Stuff happens, so give me like 2 minutes. I think I should probably get some water also. I am somebody who does consume way too much liquid, I guess, but at the same time it's fine, it's fine. Don't worry. It's actually fine. So 2 minutes. 2 minutes and I will be back. Three probably, not just two. If I have to do quote unquote idle break. And also with some water, it's going to be fun. So give me a second. Thank you very much. Uh, oh wow, no, this guy forgot to mute. Psst. Wow. Wait. I haven't actually gone back. Can you hear this? You can't hear me scratching? Wow, so over. I hate this. So many layers of ASMR have been lost just now. Anyways, good evening. Here we are once again back here in this hellhole, condemned to be ourselves. I knew I was forgetting something. I never unplugged the mouse. This is so fucking over. Now, here we are. Man, what a. I should. There should be something like remember to unplug the mouse. Floating text that I always see before I actually start streaming or something like that. Man. Anyways, we are fine. We are fine enough. Bruh. But as I was saying, no, I am actually fine with that. I think that's a good end point for that idea. I just say that to round it up, yeah. I do believe that we actually need to be paying a lot more attention to all of those things that are related to in itself having those so to speak longer dissertations and analysis. Also, I think maybe it has to deal a little bit. I guess once again, it's the modern forms and interpretations of other ideas and previous already given thesis, so to speak, that also exist and work even here. Maybe, I guess, I don't know, unavoidably, as somebody who has consumed quite a lot of TED Talks, I guess it also has to deal with that supposedly some things can be conveyed in just 20 minutes. I guess so. Probably that has to deal with that. I don't know. It's an interesting analysis, but I will have to actually keep on thinking about it. Still, the point is, we are working on that, and it's going. I would say fabulously. I guess. I think so. More than if we never did anything about it besides just noticing it, you know? So, it's fine. Now, after or before, what? Besides that, thank you very much. Besides that, what else? I don't know, many things. I have I haven't thinking so hard lately. Not lately. I think I am pretty sure at some point I mentioned that. I think if I have to assume, like 5, 7, maybe 10 streams ago or such, I said something along the lines or referring to this concept of adulthood and such, and I think it's still funny. I haven't tried to properly work myself around all of that. It's still incredibly challenging to understand what this concept actually entails. It's so interesting to see. The more, I guess, I wouldn't say, yeah, I don't even know from which side of me it comes that I can now finally identify. Yeah, I am. I was. And I am still pretty sure that I still am somebody incredibly mature in many ways. And I don't know. I don't think that it is something bad to be capable of realizing that. But at the same time, besides that personal realization, there is that tag of, well, no matter how you perceive yourself, you're already an adult. So you have adult responsibilities to pay attention to and such. And I don't know, I think it's interesting. That's what I am referring, or that's what I am trying to go towards. It's funny to see that it doesn't need it to be in that way that it happens, and it shouldn't be such a thing that actually, or not terminally, as in not a complete declaration, but rather I am pretty sure it's not so useful to be so sure about or capacity to deal with the stuff and such. So, so to speak, so certainly, with such a huge mark of certainty behind it. Because I think, man, besides the biological age and whatnot, it's quite funny to see that, yeah, actually we are not all that good. We are. It's not so useful to say that somebody is an adult to then find out that they actually are not. In many aspects of life, I don't know. What does an adult person can do that a young person can't? Besides the most, even in children, it's way too much of a complicated discussion. What are you going to say? Oh yeah, adults are those who understand their surroundings. What? I don't know, man. I think it's way too much of a complicated. I think it's a weird category. That's what I'm trying to say, and I have to keep on thinking about it. I want to understand it personally. More so because, yeah, supposedly, as I say always, we are in the world of adults, so we exist in that world, not more in the world of younger kids and such. So it's quite funny to have to accept that idea while realizing that adults can refer to way so many things that don't actually mean anything. It's such a bastardized word, so to speak. It's oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I am an adult. What? In which respect? Referring to what? Are you somebody mature? That's not being an adult. There are many adults that are incredibly immature. That's not something that has to deal with being an adult. That has nothing to do with being an adult. You can see even children who are incredibly mature for their age and such, the eternal argument of, oh wow, yeah, some children have much more capacities to deal with situations than grown-ups, than some grown-ups. So wow, wow. What does it mean to actually be an adult? I don't know. I think it's interesting. I guess on the other hand, yeah, I am still losing myself sort of in the grammatical analysis of things. And at this point in time, I can accept that, yeah, it's sort of useless, it's sort of pointless, it's sort of damaging to anything to be so much entrailed in the concept of what? You're not using the exact correct word to refer to things. I hate you. There is this one niche word that can actually describe all your sentence. Why are you not utilizing that? No, in this case, I don't think that I'm saying that adult comes from a wrong place, that many other words could actually refer to what we use the umbrella term adult for, but it's it's just this social construct that I'm trying to understand. And I guess, yeah, as always, before or sorry, after having understood that, I guess we are going to be revisiting it here more in depth, more in detail. It's it's a project for the future, not something that we are going to actually do, or that we are as in actuality, in terms of currently do. At some point in the future, in I don't know, in some time far ahead in the future, it is that it is going to happen, that we are going to be analyzing that, and that we are going to be trying to understand it and such. And I don't know, once that gets to be, and once that happens, and blah blah blah, we are going to be much better, I guess. And that will be a point for our home, so to speak. No, what's the expression? a point for our team, so to speak. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I just still, I just have to keep on thinking about it. At some point, it will make sense. It always happens. At some point, the stuff makes sense. And when that happens, the world gets to be more bearable, I guess. And I don't know. Moving on. Let me actually move on. Let me let me do something else. Thank you very much. Um, no, wait. Before saying anything, let me drink water. Actually, I have been thinking. Wow, me incredible. I can't think. Wow. No, sorry. uh, I I was because that was something that I realized when I was thinking about this concept of adulthood earlier, before coming here. In that tiny break that happened, okay, there was this instance of I was also one of the many things that have happened lately has been me getting some more candies, even more candies. I haven't even finished the first ones that I got, but I have even more candies now. And I guess it's quite funny to actually be capable of having that concept of adult money and adult freedom to actually buy the stuff that you want. Like, oh yeah, I can actually fuck my whole life if I want because I can decide what I eat. I am an adult person and I can for myself choose what I consume, you know? Very much the biggest realm or the most extreme level of that is any kind of drug consumption, but in a more basic level, food consumption. And in that level, particularly in the realm of candies, it's where we are placed, where we are sitting. And yeah, I was getting some extra candies, and I think it's funny to do that. I like that. I don't know. I find them to be quite useful. I think it's still personally, it's so sad when once you get to explore many things, you end up finding out how many conflicting ideas there are about this stuff. It's on to some degree. We understand that candies might be something bad, that they might be something incredibly harmful, that they might be something incredibly damaging for us, blah blah blah. I don't know, brother. I am not so sure that it is the case that those things happen like that particularly. I wouldn't say so with such certainty in most cases, and yet what I found is that, yeah, here we are talking about candies in a more general sense, as if they were one of the most dangerous things to ever have in your hands. That if you're an that's what I was trying to refer to. Oh wow, you're an adult consuming candies? That is incredibly damaging to your health. Aren't you a grown up who should be capable of realizing that you should not be having anything like that at all? I don't know, bro. I don't think that it is useful. They can be potentially beneficial for us, but at the same time, yeah, what does happen is we don't actually possess them so much under our control. We don't have such a wonderful thing, wonderful relation with them. But yeah, I I have I have more of those, and I like from time to time. I guess consuming one. It's nice, you know. It's also, yeah, maybe that's an interesting fact. I am somebody who has quite a lot of issues with sugar levels for some random reason. So yeah, um, they also help me with that, you know. But anyways, the point is, consume candies. Thank you. That has been my speech today. With that, please everyone give a standing ovation now. That has been the most revealing idea. And yeah, this is a sponsored stream by Arcor. No, no. I'm just saying, you know, as I think the proper quote in that sense is, yeah, all things in proper moderation and whatnot. But yeah, they are nice. They are nice. I I do think, yes, that it is quite annoying to see that we have such a, I wouldn't, you say, wow, a toxic relation. That's fucking reductive once again. It's not just a toxic relation. We live in such an era of disinformation for some reason. We have such a distance from so many things that we used to have in our hands so normally before, so regularly before. Because nowadays everything is dangerous and everything is killing us, and at the same time we are so prone to being swayed by any kind of figure of authority rather than trying to understand by ourselves if things are the way in which they are actually, or they are just the way in which they are, quote unquote, because somebody says so. And in the process of trying to contrast, compare, analyze, understand, and then reintegrate all of that information, we get to come to a different conclusion than the one that those figures of authority use against us, so to speak. And yeah, in that area, I I place, amongst many other things, Candice. It's I have already talked about them before. I literally, when was it? 2 days ago or so. The stream. There was a whole section of drugs, for example. Also, there are things that are sadly so incredibly outside of our current realizations in terms of things that we have demonized for some reason. And yeah, candy are pretty much the same. They are not so harmful, man. They are not so damaging. They are good, actually. But you cannot say that because you're not establishing limits, and you're not being capable of actually also explaining to which degree they are good. So blah 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 blah. Blah. It's fine. If if the point is to make up excuses to not learn, there are so many men. I don't actually need to sometimes make them. The person already possesses enough justifications for what they like and don't like by themselves. Not always they need an even wider arsenal of weapons to utilize for the sake of defending their already existing positions in terms of concepts like that one. So it's fine. That's my point. Just consume some candy sometimes. It's not going to kill people. I guess as long as unavoidably the only caveat that I will make there is as long as they are not actually toxic, they are fine. They are incredibly good. And yeah, that's that. Thank you. Now on to something different. Please let me drink some water. That is the proper direction, I guess. Thank you very much. Yeah, I said before, I am still trying to properly get around dealing with all of that in terms of unavoidably completely different idea. Um, how it feels to be here and whatnot. I guess finally I am starting to understand more the position in which I find myself to be in. It's not so much of a distant realization that yeah, indeed, I am also part of something. So what am I a part of? Though that's the actual question in terms of can I identify that? Can I realize that I am part of that? I am a part of those groups or of that community or something like that. And yeah, in that case, what has happened is I haven't continued to try and properly grapple with the idea, wrestle and try to resolve even more this whole stuff of wow. Actually, I am somebody who also streams. Incredibly enough, yeah. It's sort of given, we are here actually in this is indeed a stream that later on becomes a video. Wow, not such a crazy statement, but sometimes you forget actually where you are, and sometimes it does happen that you kind of not realize that you are also part of something, so to speak. And in my case, what am I trying to say? The point comes from I remember I don't know. It's not a long story, but it's a fun story. I remember having seen Doki Beard since she started since she returned as Doki Beard, so to speak. And one of the many things that happened was the reality of when I got to watch that. Yeah, that girl. One of the many things that happened was pretty recently. Probably I don't actually remember when. I would say yesterday, 2 days ago, 3 days ago. I don't know, man. Even today, I don't know. At some point in recent times, there was this whole. Oh yeah, sorry for not streaming here. I I actually am streaming on Twitch lately because I don't have such a settled schedule. The whole idea is basically this person says, you know what happens? I am streaming instead of streaming on YouTube where I feel a lot more relaxed. I am streaming on Twitch where I can be much more freeform, just like us in this sense, and where I can also utilize a little bit more of a freeform shape and have so much longer time. And particularly, what caught my attention was that whole idea of when I am in YouTube, I can accept that I'm going to be 1 or 2 hours. But when I am in Twitch, I can accept that I can have 1,000 different breaks and be for 5 hours or so live. And I don't know. I think it is always interesting to see that. That's once again, after I read that, I finally sort of realized, wow, that also happens to me. Not in the sense of I am somebody who has 5 different platforms. I don't actually do that, thankfully. But it's interesting to see that, yeah, sometimes, somehow, it becomes so encoded in how we function, so normalized that, yeah, I have to be here for X amount of time. I have to almost force myself to perform. I don't know, man. It's so weird, that whole concept. I think, as always, it's interesting and it could be fun, but at the same time, it's such a strange thing to actually look at. It shouldn't be an issue. It shouldn't be such a thing. Sometimes I think it maybe even obfuscates far more than it actually helps to be so settled or so decided on anything like that. It's not such a necessity or an obligation to actually look at the stuff that we have and whatnot and feel like it ought to be this long, it ought to be that. It's in that sense. That's why I was saying it, repeating myself. It's weird to see how much different encodings we enforce onto what we live, what we experience, how we go about the stuff. And I think, yeah, it's crazy to see that. It's sometimes it's fun to see that we end up functioning in such ways. But I don't know, man. I think I try to maintain myself at the very least aware of those things because, yeah, I guess, let me say it like this. If I were to personally catch myself functioning like that, if I were to realize that in my own experience, from my own perspective, I will say that it is something very toxic. I don't think that it is all that useful to be that way. Personally speaking, I don't know about the rest. I don't know about. I am not trying to speak for others. I am only referring to myself in this case. And yeah, I I don't. It's one of those many other aspects of getting to understand what you are and what you want to do with your life and where you aim to go and what you plan to do and such. Those tiny questions that sometimes you sort of forget to ask yourself. Am I just doing stuff for the sake of it? Am I forcing myself to do stuff that I might not want so much? Which kind of actions like that I am taking that might not be so beneficial to me? But uh, I don't know, man. Okay, there is a mosquito and it is distracting me. Give me a second. As soon as I moved, it moved. I fucking hate it. Anyways, I was saying, and yeah, I think it's fun to see that. That's it's that eternal process of once I see somebody else, I can also, in what I see in them, find stuff about me sometimes. I guess as I am willing to do that. Otherwise, yeah, I don't I don't have to actually learn anything from anyone. I am not obliged to do so, but it's interesting to see that I do actually have stuff like that happen. I can have stuff like that happen, and yeah, thus far in life, I don't think I am willing to learn that much. I guess, yeah, unavoidably, I can make myself look very good within what I say, but eternally there are some issues that I might not be capable of recognizing because certain situations might not sit so well with me and analyzing myself, seeing stuff in certain types of people and whatnot. Like, for example, the best example is there is always something of everyone in us, and one of the most crazy things to reconcile is there is a little bit of somebody like Hitler in everyone, and that many people would find themselves in that position if they were given all the conditions, you know? It wouldn't be such a wow, no, yeah, such a different person. That's why I'm saying, yeah, I don't know. I can say that I have the interest to recognize stuff or to deal with ideas of sorts. Only when they make me look better, I guess. Not exactly like that. But when they allow me to not have such a hard time coming to any conclusion. Otherwise, yeah, I don't want to actually, I don't know, spend the next year of my life having a crisis because I realized that I was imitating something utterly horrible. Anyways, besides that, all of this, I said before, it started with literally uh, something that Doki Beard said time ago, very recently. I don't even know when, but yeah, the point was that. Thank you. Now, next thing, because I was thinking about it, and I don't know, it's so crazy, man. It's okay. Let me drink water before I actually say anything. I okay, here we are. I have been continuing to in this whole eternal exploration of internet. I guess the term is a denizen of internet or something like that. I think, and yeah, the point is something very funny that happened recently was in watching stuff, seeing this whole conversation of the performative. In this case, I guess the context is particularly male. I don't know. It's so fun to see that always be a topic of discussion. I think it's an eternal debate in terms of the different generations are end up realizing that yeah, they all have some degree of a performance going on. I guess at the best I can trace that to stuff like the when somebody like Carl Jung, let me trace that comparison like that. When somebody like Carl Jung was alive, and when he was a very influential person on the different cultures of the world, with all of the sort of revolutionary ideas that were being expressed more scientifically, there was already a previous instance of, oh yeah, everybody is performing to some degree. That's why we have stuff like the persona and such, the mask that we all wear, and the different ways of presenting us, and the modes of masking and performing for others. And to see that results is fun. I don't actually I think, yeah, unavoidably it could be something offensive, probably. As always, depending on who you hear that from, it can be quite a crazy thing to actually have somebody tell you, oh, yeah, you know what, you're a fucking performative person. Wow. truly, truly, you think they should say that? Do you even understand what you're saying? It's so crazy to see stuff like that. I guess, uh, I think English doesn't utilize that expression, right? They don't utilize be a vogue topic, right? They say such a normal topic or common topic only. That's the expression. And see that resurface and become mainstream once again is quite crazy. You will think that we will have resolved all of those ideas before. But I guess, personally, okay, let me say it like this. I think it only has to do a little bit more with the weaponization of knowledge more than anything else. The weaponization of the different ideas that we get to have as a society. I think it comes more from that side of, oh yeah, you're a, in this case, you're a performative male, you're a performative female, you are not somebody so good because you're doing things with an intention, la 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 la. And I think it's fun to see it happen. Unavoidably, not fun to participate in that. No, I don't know. I don't think being so incredibly harmful to others with weaponized knowledge is all that good, but it's fun to see that it happens in that sense. I guess, yeah, some level of lack from not being so involved that allows us to not have to directly be in contact with all of that stuff. Luckily enough, and that's much better. And that's, yeah, the point was because it happens, because it works in that way, it feels quite crazy to see. Otherwise, I assume, I said before, I guess depending on the context and whatnot, I might probably find my own ego fucking hard if I heard somebody who I appreciated tell me that. More so because, yeah, I there are so many people who have already said so much about that. I don't think I need to personally make any sort of new statement. It is all already expressed, yeah, to some degree. Everybody is performing for different reasons, because of different motives, and in different ways. There is no manner in which nobody can perform to be an an unperforming person is to be a completely still human being. The only way in which you don't perform is by doing nothing. That is the most proper manner of not performing, and even then, that is a sort of action. So, I don't know. Once again, it's not my discussion particularly, so it's okay. Point being, we are good, and I cannot actually complain outside of that. But I I just assume that yeah, it's something interesting, and I hope it doesn't lead to anything even worse. I don't know. I haven't. I guess it's sort of a different idea, but at the same time, along the lines of that previous one, you have to learn to slowly balance yourself. There are so many ways in which so many current topics of discussion in within the mainstream spaces, so to speak, have made so many possible issues arise, so many potentially incredibly damaging issues arise. I don't know, brother. It's sort of crazy to see that we are so prone to do so much more. No, it's not even conflict. I love conflict, but it's more along the lines of division more than actual conflict. If there was conflict and resolution, we would all be fucking happy, but it is only conflict and division that happens. Conflict and more separation, distance, and ways of isolating the A's from the B's and the B's from the C's and the C's from the A's and blah 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 blah. Mm, And I don't know, I think it's sort of sad, yeah. And personally, I I can say though that I have gotten slowly to understand that more, so it doesn't feel like such an enigmatic trouble that just might potentially exist, but still, it is quite crazy to see that even if I get to make a more clear picture out of the problem, as I said as I said before, in a more personal scenario, but in this case with something far more global, even if I get to make sense out of why stuff happens like that, it doesn't mean that I actually get to solve it. And I don't think that just because I understand how it works, my life is less affected by that in terms of, yeah, you know what? If my whole family one day finds itself swayed by any kind of those different discourses that were created just to segregate division and to increase the internal separation between structures. It doesn't. They can actually avoid that from happening. I understand it personally, but that does not make the problem disappear. You know, that's the crazy thing. You know, it's there are so many things like that, or there are so many instances of stuff of that same sort happening in so many areas of life nowadays that it's sort of crazy. I guess yeah. I to say the most positive thing in that sense. Modernity has certainly proven to be quite an entertaining era to be alive in. I guess now I can say with a little bit more conviction than before. Yeah, certainly I wouldn't have chosen many other times to be born in rather than modernity. I don't think it would have been all that great. Uh, it's nice, but anyways, I don't know, man. I don't know. Besides that, I guess I will drink some water. Thank you. Can we have a minute of silence for all the mosquitoes that died today? Well, no, sorry. I was, I was actually being sarcastic. No, uh, I don't know, man. I think as always, there are so many things to say. It's always still, and we have also literally talked about that today, but it doesn't make the problem less easy to actually navigate. To have so many ideas and to live so many things in life is such a fun thing, but at the same time, it also is sort of not I wouldn't say overwhelming. It's just something that leaves you with a certain sensation of, you know what? I might not want every single day of my life to be living so much, so many things, so all the time, and that's something that takes time to actually accept as such, and that is hard once you accept that to actually let it be. But even then, I don't know. It's on a different level. Let me say it like this: I can have 1,000 different doubts about stuff like this, or like this. For example, let's say like this particular format. But at the same time, what are we going to do? I have I guess it wouldn't be such a surprising thing to say that in the future, once we get the opportunity, we are going to be rolling with some kind of game in the background. Once I have already said that, and yeah, I should sooner rather than later get a new PC. So if everything goes right, next year we will be finding ourselves with a quite different setup, so to speak. And one of the many things to consider from that perspective then becomes, what the fuck are we going to be doing with being here and actually also utilizing those resources in our favor? I do think it is going to be fun to be playing something, but at the same time, it needs to be dealt with that sensation of, wow, you know what, we are going to be sitting here playing something, but well, at the same time, talking about so many things. It's so hard to say so much. Not because it is impossible to say so much, but rather because I might feel overwhelmed if I was on the other end. I don't know. As always, it's just along those lines of realizing that sometimes it's not such an actual problem. It's only a dragon that we create inside of our own minds for the sake of justifying other things and such. So just the process of keep on dealing with what has to do with ourselves, and that's it. It's it's fine. I think it's fine. Also, I guess I will say it mostly also because I want to say it before I actually forget. I am pretty sure I'm going to. I don't know if disable those messages out. Oh yeah, interesting stuff. I don't know. To some degree, I have such a such mixed feelings out of that. Do we actually need? There is something that sort of angers me about those call to action. They are yeah, CTAs, call to action type of stuff. I don't know, brother. I understand that the other person also wants something from me. I don't need to be actually explicitly told, oh yeah, you know what? Remember to subscribe with the Prime, to utilize your Prime subscription in your favorite channel. Fucking know that already. You don't need to tell me that every single day. Nor you need to tell me that in all the situations of life. I'm fine if you don't say it every 5 minutes. And I am fine. I am fine if you don't say it at all, because supposedly I understand what I am doing. Supposedly we all understand what we are doing. It's that's the aspect of, I guess, not just modernity, but rather the whole entertainment media, and particularly publicity and such, that I don't like. Sometimes it feels like you are treating the other person as if they were fucking children, brother, and that's what's so irritating. I don't know. I haven't forgotten, even if it wasn't that long ago that I saw it yet again. That whole clip of this movie of the great movie, the great ad maker, who was saying, wait. So we let me paint the scene. There were various groups of cigar makers, no, cigarette makers. And what was happening is that they were having a discussion towards trying to settle this score about how to make new ads now that it is the year 1978. The ban on tobacco has come. The industries are forced to talk about how can carcinogenic the tobacco is and smoking itself can be, and how detrimental it ends up being for the health. And inside of that scene, inside of that discussion, this new shiny person comes, this guy who is very good at creating ads, and he says, wait, what do you specialize in? How do you create your particular cigars? Can you explain to me, Mr. Big Corporation guy? And he says, oh yeah, you know what? We grabbed them. We hard boiled them, then we give them a treatment to make sure that they are already equally to be consumed and to be smoked. And that's the moment of lucidity. Ah, then we're going to say that you put a lot of attention in your product. And the truth is, you're hiding something, because the reality is, next sentence that the guy says is, and now what happens is, yeah, cigars in general cause cancer, but yours are done with love. You are not actually disclosing the truth, but you're showing that you also have a lot of passion for what you do. So, wow, what a wonderful person you are. Oh, Mr. Cigar Maker, what a good company you have. That whole tactic, I don't like that, man. I don't like stuff like that. And yeah, sadly, we have way too many influences of that sort in, I guess, spaces like this one. Unavoidably, entertainment itself has come to be influenced a lot by all of those areas of life and such. And I have to say, it's nice to see them, or it's nice to comprehend them at the very least, as always, because there is nothing more useful than an actually learned consumer to realize that what you have in your hands isn't actually what they are exactly just selling you, and nothing else is far better. But on the other end, I don't know. I would rather not have that. I don't know. We can, as a more practical joke, let me give me 2 seconds. Let me demonstrate. Also, let me actually grab the mouse, because I'm going to fucking go crazy here if I have to use the mouse pad. Okay, here we are. Let me make first and foremost this text invisible so that you don't see it. Let me now change what it says. We put something that is descriptive. enough and capable enough of being convincing, or something like that. It's so hard to write with just one hand. I wouldn't say challenged, but it's certainly a challenge. That's the expression. Let me now. I make the text as big as it can be, fits on screen, and now it should be over me, and I can transition this into this, make this appear. There it is, something like that, the most aggressive type of ads, that I don't like. Something like that I don't like. I want to shoot myself if I have to do that, actually. I can do it within the context of, oh yeah, this is a demonstration of sorts so that we understand what we are talking about and what not. But, you know, once again, do we actually need stuff like this one? Is it all that necessary to have stuff like that one? I don't know, brother. I wouldn't say that it is such a necessity or such a useful thing to normalize. I think it's quite harmful actually sometimes to make it look like it's the most normal thing. It's quite damaging actually. I will say. I don't know. And I don't know. Once again, you slowly realize that there are way too many things of that same sort, and I personally wouldn't comment any of them. I don't. Once again, also I don't like them. It's like there is this level of, oh yeah, yeah, I have learned how to this thing myself. Therefore, I am going to make the utmost use of them. I don't know. I don't. I sometimes maybe I think it's not that difficult. Is it a bad statement? You can learn pretty easily how to make something like mustard gas. Are you going to actually make it and use it on people just because you know how to? I don't know, man. I don't think it's all that useful. Same thing here. It's good that I have learned how stuff works, like, in a certain sense at this degree, but I don't want to actually make it work for me like that. It feels, once again, it feels incredibly bad, and I don't want that. I think nobody should want anything like that. I don't know. That's a more than anything else a moral judgment, I guess. So, but yeah, that's the bit. Let me take the second idle break, and once I'm back, I'm going to get rid of this. But yeah, I think it has been almost an hour since the last one. We are so precise with the time. Also, the incredibly huge amount of water consumption, most certainly. But anyways, give me a second. Thank you. Everywhere. No, no. Okay, now for real, everywhere. There we go. They would say something along those lines. Anyways, good evening. I was. Can I see them the microphone? Thank you. I don't know why it gives me so much anxiety. I think it's something along those lines of at some point you realize more so because personally, yeah, I have slowly internalized enough that yeah, I do have quite an issue with mostly because I have to hold the mic myself. If I am not paying attention to that, I tend to actually slowly get farther and farther away until it becomes night impossible to understand what I'm saying because I'm so far away. So it's better if I am paying attention to it, to that meter, to that volume meter. I guess understand your own shortcomings or something like that, and actively pay attention to them instead of just letting them be and such. I don't know. Anyways, the point is, good evening. Uh, what is the point? Good question. I don't know. Is what much more can we actually say? I guess. No, I don't know. I feel good. I feel good. I think, despite, as always, despite not having any central team, they are good. It's a good decompression, so to speak. Decompressing enough type of structure this one. So we probably talk out like I wouldn't say 10 things or so, but it was sufficient enough for me today. So I am happy. And yeah, anyways, I think that means basically that I am going to actually do a slash rest. So yeah, uh, I guess I guess that's it. As always, it has been quite a nice time, quite a good time. And yeah, I don't know. Next time, tomorrow, philosophy, more actual philosophy. Actually, talking about something instead of this structure. So yeah, we are going to see how about what I should probably define myself tomorrow. I have to see. Anyways, I don't know. I have I it always happens when I do this stuff of trying to slowly say goodbye. I don't know if it is something along the lines of the regret or what, but I always when I am slowly saying this, it's more of a normalized or so internalized part of the process that I instantly, while I do the normal act of living, I also remember everything else that I should have said, that I wanted to say, that I could have said, and whatnot. It's so incredibly boring to have to go through that. It's the thousand different memories that come as waves crashing all together. Of oh yeah, you know what? There are all these other things. I don't know, man. I also have to be honest. I today I did start a little bit later than usual, quote unquote usual. There is no usual time. I don't actually start normally at a proper hour. I say that most streams try to be at 11 p.m. Argentina time. They are not at all at 11 p.m. Argentina time. Anyways, the point is, we are done. Sorry. Have a good night, have a good day, have a good evening, have a nice life, have a good life, have an aware life. Do things, be happy, be entertained, be engaged in stuff, I guess. And yeah, thanks for everything. It has been a very good day, night. So yeah, I know. Next time we'll find ourselves again, and even if we don't, it has been still an incredibly amazing encounter. So thanks. Be happy, take care, and yeah, as always, thanks for the attention, thanks for everything. Goodbye.